Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations with a theme park layout that you can use for your summer vacation memories. I am going to be using a few of the items from the June Fox box and pairing them with the long weekend perspectives and floral bouquet paper snips. I can't wait to share this project with you. On the Bramble Fox side, there are some new perspectives that are designed for your travel memories. So I thought that I would use a few and catch up on my Disney album. These photos have some blue, red, and tan hues, so the Let's Getaway title and floral paper snips are a perfect match. I'm also going to use a few items from the June Fox box. These phrases and icons are going to fit well with my design. As I create this layout, I'll bring in a few other supplies, and I'll make sure to add them to the list in the description below, along with a link to the June Fox box. Our Disney album is 8.5 by 11 inches, so I've trimmed down some of my white cardstock and pattern paper to size. I'm going to place the photos in a vertical column at an angle, so I'm going to lay this backing piece at an angle also. This just adds a little bit of whimsy to the page. The photos were taken at Epcot in the French bakery. As a celiac, it's difficult for me to find treats that I can enjoy, but I was told that this bakery had a gluten-free macaron that was absolutely amazing, so of course it was on my must-have list for this trip. I'm going to bring in some pink pattern papers and some black and white. This is more of a classic color combination that pairs well with the soft blues on the buildings and florals in the photos. I've also added some horizontal grounding strips at the base of the page, and I'll explain why I did that here in a moment. The photos are going to be framed with a few floral pieces that I'm cutting out from the bouquet paper snips. If you're new to using paper snips, then you will want to know that these 6x8 sheets are not made of a flimsy paper, but more of a stiff cardstock-like print. Many of the paper snips on the Bramble Fox site include phrases, icons, and tabs or tags, but this one is solely floral pieces that are simply stunning. I knew the minute I saw these that I would want to add them to my photos of the French pavilion. To bring in some more blue, I'm going to add this title perspective on the right side, and I'll place a typeset perspective from the June Fox box below it. I'm loving these little black and white tile pieces this month. I'm going to cut out a few more of these florals and create some stenciled images to add to the right side of my page. So here's where I get to try to explain what I did for my stenciling. We have been riddled with storms this week, and I didn't realize that one of the little power surges shut off my camera. So let me try to explain a little bit what I did here. With the sunburst stencil, I added some layers of soft pink, and then I used that sunburst as a mask and added some floral images with the spring floral stencil. Here I'm spritzing the images with some water to create some pooling in the oxide inks. I apologize that the stenciling didn't make it into the video, but in the end, you aren't going to be able to see much of this pattern once I add everything to the page. I will make sure to share this technique in another video here soon. So many of the treats in the bakery, including the macaron, had fresh raspberries, so I want to create a few raspberry canes to tuck within my flowers. I don't have any raspberries in my stamp or die collection, so I'm going to try to create these with some small strawberries and a cherry blossom die set. I already cut the small strawberries from some red pattern paper, and I'm adding a darker mahogany ink around the edges. I like to place my die cuts on a sticky mat or an old Cricut mat when I'm adding shading. This holds them in place while I'm adding the ink, and the mat can be rinsed off with water when I'm done. To make these look more like raspberries, I'm going to draw in some wavy lines. These dies have some indentations where the strawberry seeds sit, so I'm going to draw those wavy lines in between the indentations. Now, these don't have to be perfect or precise because most of these berries are going to be hidden behind all my layers of flowers. I just want the illusion of the layers of berries that you would normally see on a tiny raspberry. Now, once I've added all those wavy lines, I'm going to add another layer of the dark ink over the pen to soften the lines a little bit. I'm also going to use one of these small blending brushes to add some soft pink ink to the center of the flowers. These little blending brushes from Bramble Fox are perfect for tiny flowers and die cuts like these. They hold a small amount of ink and get in all the tiny little areas of your project. Alright, now that these are ready, I'm going to attach them to the cherry blossom branches to make them look like raspberry canes. This is where I had to get a little creative. I'm more about using what I have than going out and buying something new, so I'm mixing and matching die sets to create the raspberry canes. I had to trim off some of the flower portion of the cherry blossom branch so that I could place those raspberries over the ends. The little leaves I'm placing at the top of the berries are from a strawberry die set, and the leaves on the branches are from the cherry blossom die set. I just cut all of the leaves from the same pattern paper to give it a more cohesive look and make it look like it was from the same collection. Before I layered these within those floral pieces, I sanded the berries a small bit. This allowed some of the white core in the paper to show through and gave them more of that water-washed, worn look, just like the florals. Within those raspberry canes, I'm also tucking some small white flowers and some leaves and florals from the paper snips sheet. These have colors that are similar to the pattern papers I used on the raspberries, which is creating a cohesive look and giving off a French garden-like feel. As I continue to add my floral layers to the page, I want to share with you why I feel it's important to have both horizontal and vertical lines on your scrapbook pages. I mentioned earlier that on this page I have a very strong vertical line of photos, and I have offset those with the horizontal pattern papers at the base of the page, some horizontal phrases, and the horizontal title. One of the key principles in design is to balance horizontal and vertical elements. When you add these to your project, the eye is naturally guided through the design. Vertical elements are typically more powerful and prominent on a page. Having my photos in a vertical column shows that this is what I want you to focus on and see first. It's the most important part of my page. You can create vertical elements with stripes, tall shapes, or directional icons. Horizontal pieces provide stability for those dynamic vertical items. Adding more horizontal than vertical pieces creates a calmness on your page. If you want your page to appear more spacious, you can add more horizontal elements. A combination of the two creates contrast and interest. If you add more vertical pieces, your page will give off more energy. This page is about a theme park memory where we enjoyed amazing treats, rides, and had lots of fun. Bringing in more vertical pieces gives off this type of vibe. If I were sharing a layout of a night by a campfire, I might use horizontal pieces to reflect the calmness being felt in the photos. No matter what feeling you're trying to portray, you want to create a balance of both horizontal and vertical. This balance is what makes the overall design feel more engaging and memorable. Alright, now that I've explained a little bit more about why you need to use horizontal and vertical, and I have put all those floral pieces in place, I'm going to go ahead and finish off this design with some phrases. At the base of the photo, I stamped a little phrase that says must have, and next to that I'm going to bring in this mint colored prize ribbon from the June Fox box and a little puffy sticker from my collection. These items are bringing some more weight to the base of the page, and that helps to balance out that larger floral that I added at the top. To bring some more of that mint color to the page, I'm going to add this little frame below my title. and this is going to be a space for my story. I'm also going to bring some more of the softer blue to the page with a tab at the top. This is cut from the Foxbox paper snip sheet, and behind that I'm going to layer a little tag and add a small paper snip phrase. This finishes off the top of the page nicely and brings in some more of that blue and soft green to my design. I'm going to type up my journaling and I'll share the finished layout with you. Off camera, I added my story here under the title. Now let me explain real quick how I did this. With a pencil, I traced the area where I wanted the story to go, and then I cut that area out with a craft knife. I placed that onto a piece of printer paper and ran it through my printer, and then I adhered that cardstock back in place. The frame covered up the space where I cut out the cardstock, and it looks like I printed it right onto the page. Now, I know that seems like a lot of work, but I prefer to type up my journaling instead of handwrite it, so this is what works for me. If you prefer to use your own handwriting, you can go ahead and put in your journaling there right below the title, or trace the area where the frame sits and then fill it in below the title. Some other items I added to this page include a few white enamel dots on the small flowers and a little tab on that tag at the top so that it can be pulled out from behind the photos. I'm going to share a few close-ups of this layout so that you can see all the lovely details. Today's page records a memory of a treat we enjoyed at the French Pavilion at Epcot. I incorporated some florals from the paper snip sheet and added a touch of creativity by layering them with raspberry canes I made using some dies in my collection. I hope that today's project inspired you to try something new. I want to thank you for joining me as I created another scrapbook layout and shared this memory with you. If you would like to see more of my projects, you can visit my channel or follow Miss Carrie's Creations online. If you have any questions about this project or the supplies I used, feel free to leave me a comment. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.